Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 31 of the overnight feed recaps for Big Brother season 24. And welcome to Cliff Notes. All right. So last night, we had nominations yesterday. We were going to talk about that. We had the continuing saga of Muffin Gate. This thing just won't go away. So we did have some conversations that are worth talking about as well. So let's get right into it. First of all, as I mentioned, we did have nominations yesterday. Remember, Michael is on the block. Seems like Daniel's the most likely target, but we got a lot of time going forward. So we had the nominations, and Michael has put up on the block the trio of Monty, Joseph, and Terrence. They're on the block. They are not the intended target. They are the pawns, as we've seen, seems like every week so far. They are the pawns. The plan right now is to backdoor Daniel, send him out the door. But we got a lot of time between now and next Thursday. And not everyone, as we'll find out through conversations tonight, not everyone is as sold on getting Daniel out the door as they're saying in front of everyone else in the house. There's a lot of maybe some secret wishes and thinking about scenarios, things like that. So let's talk about all of them. All right, so first of all, let's talk about this. Because we now have 3 nominees on the block, those 2 chairs there at the end of the living room can't be used anymore. Big Brother shut the house down for a little bit, brought in a 3-seat sofa instead of those 2 chairs. We got people sitting in that sofa. I know during my season, I felt like it was a jinx. There was no way I was going to sit in those nomination chairs unless I was being forced to as part of an official ceremony, but doesn't seem to faze anyone in this house. So they're trying out the new 3-seat sofa. We'll see if it's still 3 seats come Thursday or if it goes back to 2. Who knows what's going to happen? All right. So again, we don't really have Monty, Joseph, and Terrence as a primary target. Monty himself had suggested the night before that, hey, put us up here. We're 3 strong guys, 2 strong guys, Monty and Joseph and Terrence as well. Everyone is thinking that they have the best bet to win the veto. If they win the veto, they pull themselves off. It gives Michael a clear shot to then put up Kyle and Daniel, send Daniel out the door. So they're doing everything they can to make sure that Daniel and Kyle do not win the veto and keep themselves safe. So with that being said, let's get into the feeds. Let's talk about what happened last night. Well, first of all, we've got Indy. Apparently she got upset that Alyssa and Kyle were getting frisky. I feel like I'm 80 years old. Getting frisky in the bed right next to her at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, middle of the night. I'm sure they weren't doing too much, but Indy heard a few noises and everything, and so she's a little bit upset with that. Alyssa has apologized. She says Kyle is super embarrassed about the whole thing. So Indy's kind of particular about her bed, her covers, who's in there, and everything else. She may be a little particular about people being too close next door to her, make it out a little too much and all that. So we had that happen. As I mentioned, Muffin Gate continues. Then we do have some strategic conversations we'll talk about, but Muffin Gate continues. Everyone has treated this as a joke, but now it really seems that Jasmine is seriously mad about this. I mean, she's kind of pretending like it's a joke, but you can tell by the way she talks to some of the people, it's not really. She's really a little perturbed that someone ate her muffins and is continuing to mess with her a little bit. She's complaining about Turner. She's because she suspects, she's been told that Turner was behind it. She's upset that he touched her muffins. Sounds kind of dirty, doesn't it? But no, I'm being absolutely literal there. She's upset that Turner touched her muffins, saying he didn't shower for a week. Well, coming from a person who also didn't shower for a week, I actually think Turner's bathed a little bit more. They were have-nots, though. There's some reasons behind some of that. But she's complaining about that. She's complaining that he didn't cook or clean for anyone, i.e. Jasmine, and he wouldn't even hand her a chapstick. So, yeah, Turner's on Jasmine's bad list for the week. And, again, it's kind of a joke. But it doesn't take much to make someone a target in the house and to suddenly find your game at risk or someone else's game at risk on things that start off as just the silliest little thing. I think we got that with Muffin Gate. I truly think this could lead to someone's game ending just a little bit early. All right, we've got Jasmine and Indy and Alyssa. I think they're in the Jetsons' bedroom. They're talking about the nominations. Indy is, they're in the bedroom. Indy is saying, look, if the nominations say the same, I am not voting out Joseph. There is no way I'm doing it. Jasmine says, not only am I not voting out Joseph, but I'm also not voting out Terrence. So she's letting us know if noms stay the same, Jasmine's going for Monty. She's ready to get him out the door. Alyssa doesn't really say anything about who she would or wouldn't target, but she does tell the other two girls, says, you can't tell anyone this. If you do, it's going to just make us targets. Don't be saying that you're not going to, that you refuse to vote out anyone else in this house. So she's mentioning that to him. Alyssa's also talking about and wondering why everyone is considering them a trio and wondering why they are considered a threat. Jasmine holds up her ankle and says, yeah, well, why are we a threat? It's not competition. It's not the comps that they're considered the threats in. It's the fact that they have 3 votes that everyone assumes could work together. Who knows? But the fact that they've got 3 votes that other groups either want to win over those votes, or if they can't do that, get those votes out of the house. That's what makes any group of people a threat at this stage in the game. They are wondering if anyone in the house at this point is playing a floater game, is a floater. Jasmine mentions Taylor. Taylor really is not a floater. Taylor is all in with the leftovers. The floater in the house, if I got to find anyone as a floater, it's got to be Terrence, right? Terrence is still talking to Daniel. He's talking to Monty Joseph. Terrence is playing the floater game right now, just trying to find a place to land, trying to survive. All right, we've got Terrence and Daniel talking. Remember how I said there's some people that maybe would just soon not have Daniel go home this week? Well, Terrence is talking to Daniel and saying, look, if I can, because I'm up on the block with Monty and Joseph, so if I can, I'll sabotage the veto. I'll do what I can to ensure that you win the veto. If that's the case, we can keep nominations the same. You'll be safe, Daniel. Now, Terrence better be careful for 2 reasons. First of all, if nominations stay the same, that leftover lines very well may turn right around and bump Terrence out the door over Monty and Joseph. I'm not sure if Terrence completely realizes that. And if he is caught throwing the comp, if it even looks like maybe he's throwing the comp, there's going to be a lot of people looking at Terrence with a whole lot of suspicion that could really impact his game if people don't feel like they're getting enough loyalty from Terrence at that point in time. So there's a couple of reasons that Terrence better be super careful when he's making these kind of statements. Now, for all we know, Terrence is just saying that to Daniel just in case Daniel wins it. Terrence is trying to protect his position with Daniel. He may not actually be doing any of this. Terrence needs to show that he's a little bit more of a comp threat, I think. If he gets a chance to win a veto, I think he needs to win it. But we'll see what happens today. All right, we've got Taylor and Michael and Brittany talking. They had a long conversation. And we're talking a couple of hours, it seems like, up in the HOH room. And remember, these 3, Taylor and Brittany and Michael, absolutely, besties in game, but also just in relationships and everything else. But they've really brought Taylor in as well. This group of 3 maybe as tight as any group in this house right now. Brittany is saying that she wants bestie, whatever. She wants it over. She says, look, it's getting harder and harder to identify the targets in this house. If bestie besties was over, Turner's going to go after Jasmine. Jasmine's going to go after Turner. Let those 2 go at it. It doesn't involve us. So can we just finish the whole thing up? I think I'm ready for festy besties to be over. I've said before, I think it ends after this week when they go into the jury phase. I expect it to be gone. Here's hoping. I like the twist. I'm not going to complain, but I'm ready for it to be over. Move on to something else. Taylor is saying that she really would be okay, that she thinks Jasmine needs to have 1 more week before going home. And I think the reason she's saying that is does she want Jasmine in the jury house? I'm not really sure why she would want that particular situation. But she's saying, yeah, let's give Jasmine 1 more week before we send her out the door. She's actually saying that Terrence probably would be her top target if she had the opportunity. Taylor talks to the cameras a little bit later tonight and fleshes that out just a little bit more. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. All right, we've got Brittany warning that if something weird was to happen this week, say the nominations don't change and say Monty maybe went home. Remember, she's shooting for Monty if something like that happens. Brittany's saying that if Monty was to go home, that she's a little bit worried that Joseph is so tight with the three girls, Indy, Alyssa, and Jasmine, that he would band them together, and that would be a strong group of 4. They're all talking about how smart Joseph is. They've seen the way Joseph can play dumb to people outside the alliance, but then when they're together as an alliance talking, they've seen how smart, how brilliant it is. So that's got them a little bit nervous as well. They're starting to identify Joseph as maybe even a bigger target than Monty is in this house. And I think that's a legitimate concern. Joseph's playing a great game, I think. All right, Brittany, this little interesting thought or opinion. Brittany is talking about the fact that she really doesn't want Jasmine or Terrence in the house because she says, I don't want those weak players in here. I want them gone so that Brittany, am considered the weakest player in the house, because she's thinking if she's considered the weakest in the house, it makes it that much more likely that anyone's going to waste an HOH putting her up on the block, that they'll just ignore her. And she's right in that we're starting to reach a point in the game where you don't have just the people you get rid of just because it doesn't get blood on your hands. At this point, it's getting more and more where when you get a chance, you need to take those big shots. You need to take out the targets that may be coming after you. So Brittany's just thinking, if I could just lay low, if I could be the least threatening person in the whole house, then that may be bad for my game. I agree, but if you want to win Big Brother, you don't make it to the very end by being the least threatening person in the house. So it's kind of a short-sighted strategy, I think, in some ways. But yeah, she's throwing it out there. All right, we've got Kyle up in the HOH room with Brittany and Michael. Kyle is worried that he could somehow go home in the blind side. Again, maybe there's a little whispering, maybe this idea that what if Daniel isn't such a unanimous choice to go out the door. So Kyle's actually asking Michael and Brittany, saying, hey, what are the chances that maybe I would go up instead of, or I'd go home instead of Daniel if we end up on the block at the end of the week? Michael says, I haven't heard that. I don't think that's the case. He says, but at the same time, I'm not going to tell you, Kyle, that you should throw the veto or anything else to make sure that you're on the block. He said, if you can win the veto, you probably should, not because I've heard anything, but you just never know in this house at this point in time. Don't throw vetoes. If I know we've had a lot of pawns in that. We've had a lot of pawns going home. So yeah, I think Kyle's learning that lesson. Michael's telling him to go ahead and play for veto if he can. He's also telling Kyle, he said, just so you're aware, Taylor suggested to us just a second ago while she was up here that maybe Daniel sticking around may not be so bad for her game, because she thinks that Daniel would vote on gameplay if he was on the jury, and that he may respect Taylor's game, even though they had so much conflict. That she thinks he may respect her game enough that maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing if Daniel was to stay on the block. Well, Kyle immediately, the alarm sirens go off at that point, and Michael has to clarify, says, no, she's not talking about you and Daniel being on the block sending you out the door. She's just saying if the noms stayed the same, whatever, that maybe Daniel staying isn't the end of the world. So Kyle's worried, but he's feeling a little bit better that they're not directly targeting him, at least for now. All right, Kyle is worried that Jasmine and Indy and Terrence are going to try to make an alliance with Monty and Joseph. I think it's entirely possible. We just got through hearing Jasmine and Indy both talking about how they're not voting out Joseph. We've got Terrence that's part of the trio with Monty and Joseph right now. So could those five come together as an alliance? Sure, I can see that as a possibility. Kyle is talking about the fact that he really feels most comfortable with Brittany and Michael, the two people he's talking to up in the HOH room. He is mentioning about his relationship with Alyssa. He knows that some people are concerned. He's saying, look, Alyssa tells me some things. She keeps me in the loop from that side. He says, but I have zero game talk with Alyssa, none whatsoever. And then later he clarifies, say, I don't tell her anything at all. So maybe it's a one-sided communication. So he's trying to make sure they don't think that his prime loyalty is to Alyssa. The way he's been going on and on about her, I certainly understand that suspicion. But he say, now we don't talk game. That's just not what we do. We do other things. All right. Michael is saying that again with the Daniel talk. Michael's saying, look, I don't want Daniel to give up because I'm not entirely convinced that Daniel needs to go home this week, or that it helps my game for him to go home. Here's the thing with Michael, I think, as I hear him talk a little bit, I don't think that Michael is going to go out of his way to save Daniel and maybe risk the rest of the house getting upset with him. But if Daniel was to win veto and get protection and Michael doesn't have any say in the matter, I don't think, at least in private, Michael's going to be nearly as upset as he may talk about it in front of others. I'm sure if that happens, everyone's going to get together and say, oh, this is the worst case scenario. And there'll be a lot of people kind of, maybe not so much. So I don't think Michael's going to try to save Daniel, but he may be kind of hoping that maybe Daniel saves himself. All right, we've got Turner, Kyle, Alyssa, Michael, Brittany upstairs, all talking about this Muffin Gate going on. Alyssa is talking. At first, she says Terrence told Jasmine that Turner ate her muffins. Then she kind of backtracks and says Terrence or Indy, one or the other, told Jasmine about the muffins. I'm not really sure. And Turner saying, well, that's funny because I didn't tell Terrence or Indy that I'm the one responsible. Did it come through Alyssa? Probably, maybe. But the key is that now Jasmine at least has been told somehow that Turner is probably the one behind eating her muffins. And meanwhile, while they're upstairs kind of laughing about it, joking about it. Now, Turner does say, I'm tired of it. Just send her out the door. I'm tired of Jasmine on. But for the most part, they're joking about it. But while they're joking about it upstairs, downstairs, Jasmine is plodding away. She's written a note. So, and I'm really wondering how they get pins in the house, because we sure didn't have pins during my season. But she has written a note and attached it to the bag of muffins saying that game on for the muffins, I think. And then she goes and puts it on Indy's bed. And I think she does that because Indy had put an extra muffin in the bag as a bit of a joke. So from this part, Jasmine's just playing with Indy, I think. But with regards to Turner, no, not at all. At this point, Jasmine is again complaining to Terrence about Turner. She's saying, look, the day will come. Yeah, you don't disrespect me with regards to food. And she says, the day will come. It may not be in the house, but one day the day will come and there'll be a reckoning that takes place. She's not letting this rest. She is also mad about Alyssa because she found out that Alyssa knew about who was responsible for the muffins from the very beginning, and that Alyssa didn't tell her. So she's got a couple of folks that she's not real happy with. And eventually we have a showdown in the kitchen. Turner comes down. Jasmine calls him out. Says, I know you ate my muffins. And he said, I didn't eat your muffins. And I know who did. And she said, well, who? And then he kind of backs off of that. But she says, I know you ate your muffins. He said, no, I think you did the whole thing. You just set it up. It's all you ate the muffins, Jasmine. So again, he's laughing about it. She's laughing about it out loud, but she's not happy. All right. With that being said, we've got a big Chinese checkers game going on upstairs. Now, here's the thing. It's just a game, right? No big deal. But 6 people play Chinese checkers. And of the 6 people playing the game upstairs in the HOH, they're all members of the leftovers. Who wasn't up there? Joseph, maybe. I could be wrong. I think Joseph may be the one that wasn't. When you see people all the time together, even if it's just playing a game, you should be just that much more suspicious that if they're enjoying each other's company, they may be working together as well. So while they're upstairs doing that, Jasmine is downstairs waiting for Alyssa to come down. She wants to have a call to Jesus kind of meeting with Alyssa and talk about the fact that Alyssa knew what was going on and probably pump her for a little bit more information. Alyssa's avoiding her. Alyssa's very happy that she's upstairs playing Chinese checkers. Jasmine's downstairs waiting for her, getting a little more and more upset that Alyssa won't come down and talk to her. We do have a little conversation while she's waiting. Jasmine and Monty talking about today's veto competition. They're thinking it could be the bowl arena where they wear the tutus, they spin around, they roll the balls. I think it's about time for that veto competition, and they could be right. I could see it happening today. It'd be a fun one to watch. All right, we've got Jasmine complaining to Indy about Turner not respecting her. A little bit of a theme to the evening. Again, saying that she doesn't respect her, that Alyssa won't talk to her. And because of that, she's starting to feel that Alyssa maybe has more loyalty to Turner than to herself. Again, just a little prank that doesn't quite sit with someone can lead to paranoia, can lead to suspicions, and can start impacting people's games. So yeah, now as a result of Muffin Gate, she thinks that maybe Alyssa's a little more loyal to Turner than herself. She stops with the complaint a little bit while Indy complains again about Alyssa and Kyle being noisy next to each other the night before, in the middle of the night, and all that. All right, we've got Jasmine talking about what a competition beast Michael is, at which point Indy is hoping that the house might go after him as a result. And we've got Jasmine wishing that maybe Michael would keep noms the same and get out Monty. Jasmine, another person that just soon maybe not see Daniel go home. So yeah, she's saying, hey, if Michael keeps it the same, we'll definitely get Monty out the door, which he'd already said earlier in the Jetsons room. Jasmine also, though, is saying that she wants Turner out. Well, Turner wants her out as well, but they're besties. So at least for this week, it could happen. Could they go up together as a nom? Probably not. If the veto's used, it's got to be Daniel, I think. But she does mention that. Jasmine also mentions the fact that she feels like everyone in the house has a final two except for her. Indy says, well, I don't have one. And Jasmine, oh, yeah. But they didn't offer final two to each other. That would be a perfect opportunity, right? I don't know if the trust between them is quite there to do a final two, but they don't have a final two with each other either. Jasmine throws out her voting order of who she'd like to go home in what order. Jasmine saying, look, I want Turner, I want Brittany, I want Taylor, and I want Daniel out before I go. So there you go. That's Jasmine's burn book kind of listing. Turner, Brittany, Taylor, and Daniel. All right, Indy is saying that she wishes Michael would maybe go ahead and just put up Jasmine and Turner so that she could send Turner home. But Jasmine is saying, yeah, I'd like to see Turner go home too, but I don't want to go on the block because then that means I got to go talk to everyone. And I don't want to do that this week. That's the last thing I want to do. All right. They are excited about, they get very excited. They're in the Jetsons' bedroom at this point. Very excited about the idea of what if Daniel won Veto this week? He kept the nominations the same. At that point, Monty goes home. Then Daniel wins HOH the following week, which means Daniel's going to have bigger targets in this house than the girls. So now the girls are protected for yet another week. They're all very excited about this scenario and how it would completely flip the house. It would, but it certainly depends on outcomes for the next several competitions. Alyssa comes in and she's wondering if they got picked for Veto, would they refuse to use it and maybe keep Daniel alive? Well, maybe, but they also are realizing that Taylor is also in their besties group with Alyssa and Indy, and Taylor may choose to use it even if they don't do it. So it's a little bit out of their hands. All right, we've got Turner talking to the cameras, to the family, as he often does, just telling his girlfriend he loves her and all that. We then have there in the bathroom, Taylor and Monty and Turner. He's telling some travel stories, things like that. Taylor's talking about Daniel a little bit, and then she's saying that she likes Daniel. She just feels like maybe he overestimated her. He gave her more game credit than she probably deserved, and that's why she was getting a little more targeted than him than maybe she thought she should have. But all in all, she likes Daniel. She thinks, he'll be a good. She said earlier that she feels like he would vote for who he thought played the best game. And as a super fan, I think that's probably true. Joseph is saying that if Daniel doesn't win Veto this week, and so he goes on the block, that they're going to have to listen to days and days of I'm going home talk and how that's going to get a little tiring after a while. All right, we've got Joseph saying that Terrence and Jasmine, neither one are huge threats that he's that concerned with, but that Terrence has been lying to him a lot over the last few weeks. And so maybe of the two, Terrence is a little bit more of an issue, which I thought was interesting because remember, Joseph and Monty and Terrence are in this trio together. But Joseph's still not really comfortable with Terrence just yet. All right, we've got Taylor alone, still in the bathroom. She's talking to the cameras, kind of whispering and just thinking things out. She's saying that if she is HOH, she doesn't want to vote a woman out. That's not what she came into the house to do. But she's saying also that she also doesn't want Indy on jury. Indy does not like Taylor, so I understand why she would not want her on jury. She's wondering if maybe she should target Daniel for revenge, or should she try to keep him because he may be a jury vote for? So this personal vendetta versus the strategic game, it's so much a Big Brother does. You got to weigh the two of them against each other. So she's wondering how maybe she should go with that. She does get a little worried. She's saying, look, if Daniel goes home this week, then I really feel like the only targets left in the house would be Terrence or Jasmine. And she says, do I want to put up or send out one of two black people on the block? So she's a little bit worried about that, but she doesn't feel like she has any choices if Daniel is gone, because it's just the way it works out. She can't go against Jasmine or Alyssa since they're besties together, and so her targets are limited. So she's a little bit worried about who she would go after from a target standpoint if she was to win HOH. She mentions that she maybe is kind of rooting for Daniel to win the veto today, because if that's the case, then that means he's still here next week. If she was to win HOH, she could then go after Daniel and send him out the door. So she's not sending home Terrence or Jasmine. She's not sending out a female. So yet another person who maybe secretly is going to be rooting for Daniel just a little bit more than they're going to be letting on to the rest of the house. All right, with all that being said, house guest in bed by 2 o'clock, 2:30 or so. It was a fairly early evening for the house guest because they're all wanting to get some sleep, finally. All wanting to get some sleep in preparation for the veto competition today. Because remember, this is the most important veto of all, right? We hear that every single week. Well, it is going to be important to Daniel, at least this week, if he wants to fight for his life. So we've got the veto competition today, so everyone's in bed just a little bit earlier than usual. Again, the theme of the evening, I think there's two, is Muffin Gate is real, and it may actually create some issues continuing forward. And two, Daniel feels like it's him against the world. Maybe not so much in private. There's going to be some people secretly rooting for him. They'll stay quiet. They're not going to do it out loud, but there's certainly going to be some people rooting for him at the veto competition today. If Daniel wins, things get thrown up in the air. We'll have all kinds of chaos overnight. If not, it may be a fairly quiet evening. But either way, we'll find out tonight. I will be back tomorrow. I'll give you all the update. I'll talk about all the future planning, plotting, conspiring, and see what's happening. Guys, y'all enjoy y'all Saturday. I will see y'all tomorrow morning. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.